Good morning and good afternoon, my friends. Welcome to Get Started with Vendasta. Today, we are going to be talking about Campaigns Pro, one of the many tools that you can resell to your clients. Essentially, email and SMS marketing made simple and powered by AI. I am your host, Nathan Jaworski. Hadley Schmidt is my normal co-partner in crime here. She is on another meeting, unfortunately, so I'll be handling most of the presentation today. But either way, it's lovely to see you folks on this fantastic Tuesday. As always, we've got some housekeeping. Number one question I always get is, are we recording? Good news is, yes, we are. Anyone who has registered for the webinar will get a replay link, and the video will be put up on our YouTube channel as well. I am going to throw that up on the screen here. If you haven't already bookmarked this, you can bookmark our Get Started with Vendasta playlist. Just give that watch here a right click and open that in a new tab so you don't lose out on seeing my lovely face for the next little bit here. Fantastic. Questions. We will be having a question and answer period at the end. Please do put those cues in the Q&A section of SQL here. If you put them in the chat, chances are I may miss them. And again, I'm kind of riding solo here for the first bit, so I don't want to miss any of your questions. So please make sure we pop those in the Q&A so I can make sure I address them in the Q&A portion. And again, of course, just to reiterate, you can access all past webinar recordings on the Vendasta Content Library or on that YouTube playlist as well. Thanks so much. So today we are going to talk about Campaigns Pro. I am going to switch my tab over to our, get out here, there we go, to our testing environment here. We are in the Amplify local PID, but we are working out of the business app today, not Partner Center, because Campaigns Pro is a business app product. Now, if you're wondering, what about my email marketing? No worries there. We have that built in for you in Partner Center here as well. Just a quick look back at Partner Center. Your email marketing tools live under marketing and campaigns or email templates. Now, again, that's for you as your agency. Let's hop back into the client environment because Campaigns Pro is our focus for today. I'm going to make my picture just a little smaller here because I'm taking up a lot of the screen. There we go. So once Campaigns Pro has been activated for one of your clients, it's going to show up here in Business App on your left-hand menu under the Campaigns section. This Campaigns button is not going to appear unless you've sold them Campaigns Pro. So let's click into there. As you can see, we've got a number of features here. You can track how many marketing emails you've sent this billing period, and you get 10,000 emails per month. SMS sent this billing period is specific to how many credits you have sold. So as a partner, as a Vendasta agency partner, you are going to want to make sure you're building SMS credits into your packages. If we look here back in our Partner Center account screen, we have Campaigns Proactive, and we also have the United States SMS 5 add-on. So that's 5 SMS credits per month that you can send. There are different levels here. There's 5, there's 50, there's 100, there's 200, et cetera, that you can add on there. For emails, you don't have to add on any additional add-ons in there, but for those SMS texts, you do have to add those to use the SMS functionality. Hopping back in, you can see how many you've sent this billing period for both SMS and emails, and then you've got your list of campaigns. Now on this screen, you can see each campaign that you've built out. We've got a few in draft here. We've got a few published. I'm going to hide the draft ones just to clean it up a little bit here. Oh, actually, no, I'm not going to do that because I built out a draft. There we go. And you can see from here the lifetime stats of the campaign. So how many recipients have received this email? How many are active recipients, as in the campaign is still in progress? How many emails have been delivered? And what the open rate is and the click to open rate is. So that there is a good bird's eye view of how each campaign is performing. To create a campaign, it's very easy to do. You hit this blue Create Campaign button and this Templates button here if you want to build a repeatable template. So for instance, you can see we've got a number of templates built out, a customer welcome message template, we've got a marketing template, we've got promotions and reminders, or you can build them from scratch. So I'm going to click into a campaign that I started building today. It's my Welcome Drip campaign. I'm going to click into there, and you can kind of see I started with a template, and it was a welcome template. If I want to see what that looks like, we have a preview here, and you can see what that is going to look like when you send it out. Now to edit this, very easy to do. You just click Edit Email, and that's going to open our email builder. Now, some of this may be familiar to some of you if you have been using our tools, so this is a good refresher. For those of you who've never seen it, here it is. In the center here, of course, we have our preview. We've got the desktop view. We can change to how it would look on a tablet or on mobile. This is always a good little litmus test to see if your email is too wordy. What looks great and brief on a desktop might look like a big wall of text on a mobile device. So it's good to keep that in mind. And if you are finding that you're getting big walls of text, breaking those walls up with images or buttons or other things. To do that, on our left-hand side, we have the builder section. So here's where we can set the subject line, if there's any preview text we want to put in there. So hi there, it's great to meet you is our subject line, and then any preview text, we look forward to seeing you in person. And then you can see that preview text popping up. If I click off of here, I guess it's just only showing a little bit because our subject line is a little long. Oh no, there we go. Just needed a moment to pop in. We look forward to seeing you in person. Then you can add various elements to the email. Now, if we look on this particular one, it's starting with our logo. That's going to be the default image at the top of every email is your business logo. To find where that is set, we're going to go back to our business app menu. We're going to go to administration, and we'll click OK. And then we'll go to business profile. And from there, we go to images. And that's where you put your logo in the business profile. So that logo is going to be what's the default at the top of your emails. Now, let's say you want something else up there instead of your logo. That's totally fine. What you can do, we'll go back into our campaign here. Edit. Thank you very much. If I wanted to put a different picture other than my logo, maybe I've got a nice banner image that my marketing team has come up with, and I want to pop that up there instead. I can either have it show up under the logo, or if I want to replace the logo altogether, I scroll down to the bottom where on our left-hand menu, and it says top logo here, and we would switch from default to custom, and then I could drop my own image in here. It shows you what it defaults to for the top and bottom padding and the logo width and the alignment. You can center it, you can have it left aligned or right aligned, or you can hide the logo altogether if you don't want an image in there. I wouldn't necessarily recommend that. It doesn't look quite as polished. Let's pop our logo back in there though. I want the default logo on my email here. And you can see that we can add various blocks to have the different pieces of our, or the different sections of our email laid out. So for rich text, that's where we would have like the text body of the email. But let's say I wanted to add a call to action button. I would click Add New Block, and I'd choose from one of these options. I'd choose Button, and that's going to bring a new element at the bottom here. And this is customizable as well. So for the button text, I don't want it to say learn more. I'm going to say come and say hello. And there it is. The button style, let's see what the outline looks like. No, I think I like the solid style, but that green does not match my branding at all. We can change that color very easily. If you have the hex code handy, you just type it in there. If you don't have the hex code handy, you can choose a color from here. And a nice little trick I like to use is the eyedropper tool. Now you guys can't see this because I'm just sharing my tab. Let me just change how I'm sharing this screen because I feel like it will illustrate it a little bit better for you. There we go. So now if I click on this colorful square rectangle here, rather, it's going to give me this little color wheel. So I could choose a different color here, but I want it to match the yellow, the yellowy gold that's in my logo. So I'm going to grab this eyedropper tool, and I'm just going to pull that right over here and find the right pixel. You need a steady hand. There we go. And that's popped that color right in. So now the button matches my branding perfectly. And then, of course, with a button, you're going to need a link. So here, I would maybe put my calendar link in here. So there's my Book Me Now link in there so that if people click on that, it's now going to take them to my meeting scheduler. Obviously, you wouldn't put the Vendasta meeting schedule in there. You put your own. But it gives you an idea of what's possible there. I'm going to go ahead and take that out of my draft here just so I don't have people making tests and booking meetings with me. And I'm going to save that because I like the changes that I've made. Now, if we click out of our campaign, you can see you can add as many emails, or you can even stagger SMS through it as well as you want. And then you set how long you want it to wait between messages. So right now, I've got it defaulted for my second message to come a week later. I built this today just out of another functionality that we have. And that is the AI suggest content feature. So let's build an email here. I'm going to add a new email. If I click add existing email, it's going to ask me to choose from one of those templates. But I don't want a template. I want to just do right from scratch email here. So we're going to click add new email. And here we are. We have a blank canvas. My template name is going to be email number 3. My subject line is don't miss our spring special. And then the preview text is this deal will blow you away. Beautiful. So right here, I'm now hit a writer's block. I don't know what I want to do. Thankfully, I've got my AI tool here. If I click suggest content, I can also suggest either text or image content. For right now, I'm going to keep it simple. I'd like to suggest some text content. So I want this AI write me an email addressed meant for potential customers, letting them know that from now until April 30th, 2026, when they purchase any standard treatment, they can get a free bottle of our eye serum. And let's see what it does with that. Generate content. Okay, well, I maybe should have said something else. Instead of saying, dear potential customers, I'm just going to say, hi there. That's a little more friendly. We're excited to announce a special promotion happening now until April 30th, 2026. When you purchase any of our standard treatments, yada, yada, yada. It's got the eye serum in there. It talks a little bit about the eye serum. Of course, if you don't have this knowledge programmed into your AI, you want to make sure you're checking what it's saying here. It's drawing what it knows of eye serums in general, and it's pretty correct there. But always, as with any AI content generation, give it that human quality assurance just to make sure it's accurately representing what you want it to be talking about. Don't miss out on this opportunity to enhance your skincare routine, yada, yada, yada. Best regards. I'm going to go ahead and take that out of there because I'm going to add my own signature at the bottom. And we're going to click use content, and that's going to pop that right in there like that. So now In this case, I think I would like a button as well. I want a call to action so that they can click. We're going to click add new block. We're going to add a button. We're going to match that coloring of our branding again, nice and easy. And we are going to pop the link in there. Of course, the button text is going to book your glow up today. Don't know if the kids are still saying glow up. I am, because I'm old, but that's neither here nor there. And then I can add a contact card. So if I had my my headshot ready, I could pop that in there. Nathan Jaworski, and I'll say skincare expert. I'm crowning myself skincare expert. And then maybe my phone number will say 306-555-1234. Don't try and text that. It's not real. And you can add other rows in there as well. And then we've got that right there. So that, in less than 5 minutes, we've got a really excellent, well, maybe not really excellent, but at least a passable promotional email to add to our campaign. We're going to click save. It's going to add that to our cadence. Maybe I don't want to wait a whole week for this one. Let's do 3 days. We're going to wait 3 days after the previous email, and then that one's going to send out. And we're good to go there. Now, the SMS builder is very similar, but a lot simpler. You don't have as much creative freedom with the SMS. So let's click into here, add SMS. You give your template a name, text number 1, and then our message is just going to be plain text. You're limited to 160 characters. Check out our deals. And then I would maybe drop in a website link or something like that. But you're very limited to what you can send out with SMS here. Couple things to highlight here with sending email and text. Of course, you are subject to anti-spam legislation, and there are a couple things that we've done to protect you from getting flagged for that. The first and foremost, if we look at one of our emails here, maybe, there we go. If we look at one of our emails here and scroll down to the bottom, you're going to see my business information down here, my address, and my phone number as well, down here listed. Now, this is required. If you are going to be sending marketing of any kind, you have to have your address on the email to prove that A, you're a real business. It gives, it essentially gives folks who are receiving your email the ability, if they wanted, to come down to your place of business and say, stop emailing me. Of course, we have our unsubscribe button as well, but this is required by law. It is something that you cannot take off of the email. Now, if you see this and you find, oh, that's an old address, or that's not my right postal code, where did that come from? I want to change that. Essentially, where you can go is administration, and where does it live here? I think it's either in here. Sorry, I didn't check this out. No, this is different. I'll talk about that in a moment, though. I believe that would just be in the business profile. So anything that you've got in here, that's where it's pulling that information from. So you can see there's that address, that postal or zip code, rather, your state, your city. So to change that, if that is incorrect, you can pop that in there. Unfortunately, you cannot hide that information from the email. As for SMS functionality, if you are going to be sending texts through the platform by, for whatever reason, whether it's through your AI, Conversations AI, or through Campaigns Pro, like we're talking about to here, we need to deal with our SMS configuration. So on administration here, we go to SMS configuration. And we have to, for all American businesses, you have to submit your business information for A2P registration. There's a form you fill out here about your business, your website, your authorized representative, like the owner of the business, what you're going to be using these SMS for. Is it going to be marketing or transactional or a mix of both? You can collect consent verbally. What's that verbal consent script when you're talking to people? Is there a web chat widget that collects information? Is there a customer information form? That kind of stuff. And you have to link your privacy policy URL and your terms of service URL. It's pretty robust, but in order to send any kind of SMS marketing, you have to fill this out and submit it. And it usually takes anywhere from 8 to 10 business days to get there. So it's not something that's going to happen with a snap of a finger, but you really want to make sure that you got this all buttoned up as laid out in these order forms here, and making sure you have that privacy policy in terms of service. Now, a couple things to note: if you have clients that work in the cannabis industry, generally those get rejected out of hand. If you have clients that have anything on their website saying that we're going to collect information, personal information for the use of our business, and that information may be shared, that's going to get rejected out of hand as well. So you want to be very careful. Essentially, if you have questions about further than what this is asking about A2P registration, I would honestly recommend looking at the government's website around A2P registration and the requirements, just so you understand that. The last piece of boring housekeeping I'm going to talk a little bit about is email domains. So when you're sending emails from the platform, what you're going to want to do for your clients, and I guess for yourself as well in Partner Center if you are using these email functionalities, is you're going to want to go to the email configuration screen. Now in Partner Center, you may remember that looks like going to marketing and then clicking on email settings. For business app users in here, for the clients you're working with, that's going to live in administration and email configuration. What do you mean there's a problem? I just saw it. Come on now. Let me try and load that again. Wonderful. So you can set what your sender name is and what the reply address would look like, whether that's, in this case, info@theglow2spot.com. So the display address will appear in the footing of your marketing emails. And then more importantly is this advanced email settings. What you would want to do is click use my own domain, and it would give you an option to connect your own domain. So you type it in, you click add domain, and it will generate a bunch of DNS records down here. These DNS records, the DMARC, the SPF records, and these 3 CNAME records would need to be added to the domain of the business itself. This usually lives in GoDaddy or Namecheap or Cloudflare. There are a lot of other domain services, but generally it's wherever you purchase the domain from. So if it's a GoDaddy domain, you go to GoDaddy to add these records. That is something that that you will have to inform your customers about if they are going to be using these tools. And generally, if you have a client who doesn't really know what all this means, you would just tell them, whoever runs your manages your website, give them this information and have them add it to the domain DNS records, and they should be able to do that. All right, now we've covered building a campaign. Of course, if I wanted to actually run this, we would have to publish it. I'm going to publish it here because I'm going to need it, because what I want to do next is show you how you can take this one step further. To send a campaign very easily, you can just go to your CRM. Once you've built the campaign out, you go to contacts and you select the contacts you want to send it to. Maybe I want to send it to everybody. So we'll just go like that. We'll click actions, and then we would click add to campaign. We would select the campaign we want to send it to and select our confirm our recipients. And then we can either send it right away or we can schedule it out. I'm not going to send this because I don't think most of these have emails in here anyway. They're all tests, and this isn't a real business. However, you might want to automate this a little bit. Let's say your client you've sold them Conversations AI, and they're getting web chat leads left and right, and they want to make sure that these leads have some kind of a touch point because they're really busy. They may not be able to reach out right away to connect with them. They want to maybe start them on an email drip campaign when those leads come in. So in order to do that, first you have to make sure that they've had a lead come in from the web chat. Easy way to do that is to just go add filter. We're going to say record source is web chat. And as long as they've got one person who came in from the web chat, that record source exists in the CRM. So we'll be able to build a trigger for our automation around that. To build an automation, you may remember this from a previous session where we covered automations in detail, but essentially you go down to automations and we're going to create an automation. I'm going to create it from scratch because it's not super hard. You just have to kind of know the ins and outs of the anatomy of an automation. Again, if you go to that Get Started with Vendasta playlist, we have a really good session where we dive into the anatomy of an automation. So feel free to check that out in our previous recordings, but we're going to build it out here as well. So first we need a trigger. What is going to kick this email automation off? The trigger I have in mind is when a contact, I'm going to scroll down to contacts, a contact is created or modified. Now in this case, I don't want a modified contact, I just want a new contact. But I don't want every new contact I add in here to automatically get this. I want to add a condition. So I'm going to add a condition. And I'm going to scroll all the way down. We're going to leave condition type, workflow, data origin, and contains the data field contact ID. We're not going to touch those. I'm going to hop down to additional emails, and I'm going to go to record source. And instead of is any value, I'm going to change that to is one of, and then I'm going to find the record source I want, which is, in this case, web chat. So now I'm going to save my trigger, and you can see in green here, when a contact is created and the record source is one of web chat. So anytime I get a new contact from my web chat, this automation is going to do something. What's it going to do? That's what the action step's going to determine. We're going to click on that, and we are going to look for the email section. You can either just search. So if I wanted to say campaign, it would take me down to the campaigns and emails. I want to start a campaign for the contact. It's going to make me specify which campaign I want to start, which is why I've already built that out, this welcome drip campaign. And you can leave it at that. You can keep that just as simple as you want. That's going to kick off the campaign for your new leads. They will get that first email. A week later, they'll get that second email. 3 days later, they'll get that third email until all the messages have been sent and the campaign wraps up. Now, if you want to take it a little farther, you can add what's called a logic step. You may remember this from our previous automation session. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to scroll down until these icons turn from blue to kind of this off purple, and I want to delay until an event happens. So let's say my campaign is about 10 days long, so I want to click next here, and I want to say an email activity. So I'm going to search email, see what I get. An email activity is created or modified for a contact. The campaign, again, I have to specify which campaign this is for, and this is going to be for my welcome drip campaign. My email status, I want to know, I want something to happen if the email gets clicked into. I don't want it to just, if it's been opened or delivered, I want it to get actually interacted with. So I'm going to say clicked is my email status. Time to wait, I usually just put the length of the campaign. So in this case, I'll put 11 days because that's roughly how long I want it to wait before it takes the other action. And then it's going to give us a little choose your own adventure. What do we want to happen if the event does happen? It gets clicked. And again, make sure it's saved that. Yeah, so if the email gets clicked, what do I want it to do? And if the email doesn't get clicked within 11 days, what do I want it to do? So in this case, if it clicks the email, I'm going to assume this is somebody who has engaged and is ready to get started. And I'm going to want to reach out to them instead of just keeping them on that email drip. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add an action step, and I want to pause the campaign for the contact. I don't want to keep hitting them with my cold outreach if they've engaged, but I also don't want to miss this. So I want to make sure it notifies me, notify a user, and it'll ask me to specify a user. So in this case, I want it to notify me. Notification type, I can either set it as generic or high priority. For me, I want this to be high priority. This is a new lead who just engaged with my cold outreach campaign. I want to make sure I'm reaching out right away. So I'm going to set that as high priority. My in-app notification, a new lead just clicked your campaign. So you'll get this notification in Business app here at the notifications bell, but you'll also get an email, and the email subject can be just new engaged lead or whatever. Check out this lead. They just clicked in, and then the button text is going to be view lead, and then the business, the button link is going to go into Business app by default. So I can go then, I'll get that email, I'll click that button, it'll take me into Business app where I can go to my CRM, find that lead, and then give them a call or send them a personal email, and we'll click save. Now, what happens if it didn't, if the event didn't happen? I've maybe, as a business owner, have decided that if they didn't click into this first campaign, I want to start them on a second campaign. So let's say campaign, we're going to start another campaign if they didn't click, and this time it's going to be the demo campaign. I don't know what that looks like. I didn't build it, but obviously you would build out a second campaign to continue trying to nurture that lead in this case. And then go from there, and then that would start that second campaign. Again, that's just a very brief look at how you can set up an automation. Once I'm ready to turn this on, I just toggle the automation on button, and I specify a few things. How often should I run this automation? In this case, because it's a new lead and it's a new campaign, I only want to run it once per contact. Error handling steps. If a step can't be completed due to some kind of error, do I want it to stop the automation run, or do I want it to skip that step and try to continue the automation run? In this case, I'm going to have it try and power through and continue the automation, but I am going to keep this box checked to make sure I get an error notification. And then I would click turn on. There we go. And then, of course, you click allow for service. Oh, of course, I have to select a service account, allow for service account. I'm not actually going to turn this one on, however, because I don't want people testing the web chat in our demo environment, getting a whole bunch of gobbledygook from my campaign. However, that is how you can set that up. Now, that is just about all I had for you folks today. I would like to dive in now to some questions and answers. So I'm going to pop in here and take a look. Is it, from Clint Rudolph, is it possible to change fonts so it can match a company's brand fonts? Now, that is a very good question. I don't believe it is, but let me just see if I can prove myself wrong. Colors, we can change the text colors, we can change the sizing and spacing, but unfortunately we cannot change the font. So the font is just the default, unfortunately. Good question, but thank you for that. Can the message be scheduled to begin on a specific day of the week, like Marketing Mondays? It's not able to be scheduled that granularly. You would have to make sure you started it on Monday and then build it out for 1 week, 1 week, 1 week, 1 week. Good question. These questions are highlighting something that I think is a common objection you may run into. It is not as robust an email tool as some of the very dedicated email tool marketing tools out there. The big draw of this one is it is built right into their business app. It connects with their CRM, and it's one less tool that a client has to potentially pay for. However, I will grant it is not as robust as something like a MailChimp or an ActiveCampaign, where that is the bread and butter of what they do. We offer it as an add-on so that everything can be built into one ecosystem, but it is not, yes, it's not quite as customizable as some of the other options out there. Great questions, gentlemen. From Lubos, is it possible to set up a simple automation in a campaign, for example, to automatically send a second email after 24 hours to contacts who did not open the first one? Yes, that is possible. What you would do in that case, rather than building a campaign, let's click into my automation here. What you can do instead is send a marketing email to a contact you'd build the email here. You create new or add existing email. So I don't want to create a new one right now, but let's add an existing email, like this Monday newsletter, for instance. And then instead of the logic step we used before, we would use the permit. And don't mind me just building it on top of the bones of this other one. Obviously, you'd start a new automation for this. I'm just doing this for ease of use. But what you would do instead of delay until an event happens, you would just say delay. And you would wait until either a specific day of a month or wait until a weekday. So I guess you could, calling back again to Jim, scheduling on a specific day of the week. If you wanted to build out a whole bunch of emails within an automation, you could wait until a Monday to send the next email, or wait until a specific day of the month, or wait a certain amount of time. Or until a time was within a range. It's just a little bit more manual, and you have to build it out kind of one at a time here in the automation. But essentially, let's say I wanted to wait a week. Let's do 7 days then. I want to wait 7 days, and then send a second email. I guess in this case, if we wanted to know if they had clicked into it before we sent that second email, what we would do is, instead of that one, we would use that delay until an event happens, just like we did before. So you go delay until an event happens, and we would, just like we did before, the event would be the email activity is, where is it here? Email activities created or modified. We would say the demo campaign and the email status would be clicked into. And then what we would do, just like we did down here, if it wasn't clicked into it, then we could have it send another email individually. So yes, answer to your question, yes, it is possible to set up that simple automation. You don't set it up within the campaign, though. You build the campaign and then you build the automation. And within the automation, you can set up individual emails. Sorry, long road to get to that simple answer. How do service area businesses handle the address section of the email? That is a good question. Let's find out. So let's say we have a service area business, and this is service area business. We want to hide my address and only show the service areas. I'm going to say Boca Raton, Florida is my service area. You can have up to 20 of those. And let's save that and see what it does to our emails. Now, if I click in here, I might actually just refresh my screen just in case it takes a minute to take. It still gives that that address. So unfortunately, it does have to be there. So if it's a service area to business, the client would be putting their home number, or in the case of if you were really wanting to dial it in, I suppose you could put a PO box number in there as well. However, that wouldn't connect well with any listings products that you had active. PO box for a listings product won't be pushed out. So a little bit of a gap there for service area businesses. And is the limitation on how many contacts you can select and schedule emails still there? I believe it was limited to 100. Oh, good question. Contacts. Let's take a look. I want to select all 270, and I want to add campaign. Estimated recipients. It does look like it is not blocking the number of recipients here. However, best practice when you're sending any kind of marketing email, I would not recommend sending more than 500 at a time, because if you're sending in that bulk, the chances of you getting flagged for spam are a lot higher. But as I can see here, there is no limit to how many that I can send to. Good question. I'm just going to take a quick peek in the chat, make sure I haven't missed any questions. Brett says, I submitted my SMS application over 10 days ago. What do I do? Who do I check with for an update of our status? So essentially, Brett, what you're going to want to do is to go into that section on the SMS configuration where you submitted it, and it should have a little pizza tracker showing you if it's still in review or if it's been rejected or if it's been approved. It should show you right on there. But that's the first place I would check. Now, if you're still seeing it's in review, there's unfortunately not a lot of visibility we have on the process. So if it's still in review, you will just have to wait. Unfortunately, we don't have any more insight into that via our Twilio integration than you do. But I would go there first to make sure it hasn't been rejected or if it has been accepted already. Message from Encarna Digital: if in the automation nothing was set to if the user didn't click, would the remaining emails of the originating campaign still hit the users? I think I understand what you're asking. So if we didn't have a and please feel free, if I don't get this right, to pop another note in the chat here at Encarna Digital. But I think what you're referring to is if we click back into here, if we didn't set if we didn't set this clicked event, if nothing was set for our email status, would they still hit the users? In which case, yes, because you wouldn't necessarily have this pause campaign for contact step. So if you want the email to just continue, and you don't care whether it's been clicked in or not, you would remove that step. I hope I'm hitting near where you were asking. I'm not 100% sure what else you might have been asking about. If I missed it, I do apologize. Oh, thank you for the confirmation. All right, my follow-up question from Lubos: if I need to build this kind of flow using 2 separate campaigns or an email plus a campaign, how can I track the main KPIs of the overall campaign on the same recipient list in this case? So if you're wanting to make sure that you are able to track in the campaign screen, you would need to build it up so that it was a campaign and not so that it was a specific single email. The automation email is not getting tracked in the same way that a campaign would. So in that respect, I would recommend, instead of having like a single email there, building that out as its own campaign. Like even if it is just a single follow-up, go into campaigns, create a 1 email campaign for that specific instance that would only go out if they failed to click, and then you'd be able to track that second one as well. Good question. All right, we are nearing our 45 minutes. I think this is the longest one I've done in a little while. Thank you guys so much for being here today. As always, we will see you again next Tuesday, and coming up, we're going to be talking about billing and orders on April 7th. We're going to talk about streamlining your revenue workflow with billing and orders out of Partner Center. So looking forward to talking with you guys about that. Thank you for joining me on this Tuesday, the 31st. Can't believe it's April already. Where does the time go? I am looking forward to seeing all of you next week, and I hope you all have a fantastic rest of your day.